Hey guys, it's your best boxing friends. I'm Kelsey. This is Rachel. Rachel, the biggest fight in the whole entire world involves two welterweights. Terence Crawford, who faces Amir Khan in his next fight, and Errol Spence, who just dominated Mikey Garcia in his last fight. Usually wouldn't want to talk about such a fight like this because they're both represented by different promoters and different TV networks. However, Bob Arum says he's willing to make the fight. Rachel, are you willing to make the fight? And who do you like in that fight?
Am I willing to believe that the fight will be made relatively soon?
I mean,
like within 3 years.
I just want to know if you want to see the fight.
Well, yeah, I want to see the fight. I feel like both these guys are at a place in their career that I wouldn't mind this fight happening
In like
a
12
little
years,
later.
12 years
No,
from now.
no. A little like so when you say this is the biggest fight to be made right now, like I find that a little bit surprising, especially with like the heavyweight division that we have, and possibly in other weight classes, other really good fights. You know.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is because I think Crawford and Spence still have more work to do with their careers. So, like, it wasn't
You're such a
like
welterweight curmudgeon.
Mayweather-Pacquiao when
Right.
we wanted them to fight in 2009, right?
Yeah, it is.
That was, like, their prime. It is time. Let's do it. I don't feel that kind of, what is that word? Not desperation, but...
Well, you're right. It's not a like-for-like comparison in that when we wanted to see Mayweather and Pacquiao fight in 2009 or whatever, Mayweather was the #1 pound-for-pound fighter, and then he retired, and then Pacquiao was a clear #1 pound-for-pound fighter, and then those guys were the top 2 pound-for-pound people for years. And these guys, I think Crawford, I think he's around #2 or so on most lists, but he's one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world because of his time at lightweight and junior welterweight. And then Spence is usually in the bottom half of the top 10. He might have moved up after beating Garcia. That's kind of reactionary. I don't really get that. Because Garcia was a lot smaller. But you're right. It's not necessarily the same thing. However, do we really want the same thing that happened with Mayweather and Pacquiao?
No, I definitely don't want the same thing. I'm just saying it's not like I'm not like at a point where I'm like this has to happen. So yeah, I'm glad that somebody's talking about it because it took forever to get Mayweather Pacquiao done. So they Arum and whomever should probably have been talking already like a couple years ago.
What I find just noteworthy, I think, in the whole thing is to see Bob Arum tweet about it. Something basically about he wants to make the fight. Who calls who? Or how should I call Al Heyman or whatever, who manages the Errol Spence? Now, if I'm a promoter and I'm like, man, I really want to make this fight, am I going to take my phone and tweet about it to just a bunch of randos?
Yeah.
Or am I going to call Al Heyman? Be like, hey, do you want to make this fight? I feel like it's disingenuous and promotional hyperbole. The type of thing that happens in boxing all the time, but it happens all the time because people react to it, like people on Twitter retweeting it, or Kelsey and Rachel doing a show about
That's
it.
clickbait, right? Like
Yeah.
that. Like that's what it is. And so, like the story I make up is that tweet goes out from whoever handles Bob Arum's account, and somebody from Top Rank maybe sends like an email or something to Al Heyman, and it's not making a fight. It's not a serious thing. That's a story I make up. That actually between both promoters on both sides, it's like a cue of like, oh, let's start promoting. We're just going to do the marketing. That we're not going to make this fight anytime soon, but we both know we need to do our part and stirring the pot with this.
It reminds me of what happened with the Polymonology versus Adrian Broner promotion evolved into side pieces and other vulgarities. That's basically what boxing promotion is. It's just a bunch of noise and nonsense and hoping people buy into it, right? I mean, that was at its basis level. For the most part, though, I mean that's like 90% of boxing promotion is nonsense.
Because that's just like big fights. There's boxing on every weekend that isn't part of that promoting, like that kind of promoting, like all those.
Yeah, sometimes there are people that are respectful and treat each other with dignity and compassion and stuff like that. For the most part, I would say that even for those smaller fights, somebody's saying something. You know what I'm saying? You don't go to Boxing Scene every day and read the pieces. What I love about Boxing Scene is home of some of the best boxing journalism in America, at least. And then on top of that, they've also just got promotional junk with headlines of like, I'll kill him. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like straight. It's like both of them married together in one thing. So interesting times in the boxing community. Um, I'm excited about the possibility of Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford, mostly because I haven't given it a lot of thought. But every time I think about the fight, I'm like, oh, I think this guy will win. And then a couple seconds later, I'm like, no, I think this guy will win. So I don't really know who wins the fight. I'm not even sure there's a clear favorite in the fight because, well, Crawford has accomplished more, and some people like him a little more as a pound-for-pound elite fighter. Errol Spence is bigger than this guy, and he's a southpaw, so that I think would play a huge role in how that would turn out.
Yeah. Well, like for me, when I've seen Terence Crawford fight, what I see is somebody who goes in for the like first few rounds and figures out his opponent and then just unleashes like he has some kind of boxing IQ that is just like that he has like Terminator eyes or something, that he's processing like everything. And sometimes fighters look like that as they come up, and then all of a sudden they hit a level and they no longer look like that. Yeah. So to me, an example of that was Golovkin. Golovkin just looked like he could tear through anybody, and then all of a sudden he couldn't.
Until he fought Canelo Alvarez, or even Danny Jacobs.
Right.
He couldn't do.
And so with that's the only thing. Like, I can't bridge that gap, and I can't predict that part of it. So I don't know if Terence Crawford is always going to have that, or if that was just against lower level opponents.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I really hope the fight gets made. Just an invitation to both fighters, Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. If you want to make this fight happen on Real Talk with Kelsey and Rachel, we'd love for you to come. I can set up a makeshift ring in our backyard. I don't know how much money we'll get, but we'll get a lot of likes, comments, and subscribes. And that's the most important thing, really. If you think about at the end of your career, fighters make money all the time, and they get famous, and they've got all these people around them. But what's the most important thing for your legacy, Terence? What's the most important thing for your legacy, Earl from Texas? We're from Texas. How about throwing us a freaking bone here, guys?
Okay.